Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
And Jolé Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet, and we'd like to welcome you to today's show where I could say it's going to be quite out there. John's going to tell us more about it.
Out there it is. And, there's a lot of galactic stuff going on here. But we do have some of us humans involved as well along the way, including Lee Harris. And gratitude as well to Michael Sandler, from whom we borrowed sections of his interview. And we'll put a link to that in the details below, just to give full access to the full interview, because obviously we only extract a small amount of it. But it's the important stuff that we want to focus on that kind of gives us a clue as to where we're going. And there's some really good stuff there. Because I know one of the comments we got last week was because it was all based on fear, right? And overcoming fear. But the fear thing obviously gets to a few people and think, well, hang on a second, this feels a bit dark. He's not intended to be dark. He's intended to empower us over the darker energies that are out there. Being realistic and not putting our heads in the sand and pretending it's not happening, but understanding, building an understanding of the reality around us so that we can, transcend this into a higher form from 3D to 5D. And that's the journey we're on into our world of unspeakable beauty. So it's an exciting journey. So yeah, for today, we got Lee Harris doing some of it. We got the Z's when he's channeling the Z's doing part of it as well. And it gives us interesting topics of discussion, which will then expand outwards. And then we have Elena Danaan. And Elena was one of the people at the Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference in Eastbourne that I went to in May. A remarkable lady. And, I'm deep into her work now and will continue to be so because I think that Elevated Planet will explore her work in more depth as well. Because again, there's a lot of empowerment that comes through the exploration of this. So, yes, we're going to be a little bit out there, unapologetically out there. And, for those for whom it is well beyond your boundaries of your version of reality, just kind of, it's up to every single person. We never ask anybody to accept our version of the truth, our version of reality. But what we do hope is that it sparks curiosity, that you explore it for yourself and then make up your own mind, but also trying to keep your mind open. Because there was it the Dalai Lama quote, the mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. Thank you, Dalai Lama. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say at this point. And Jolé, what would you care to add before we go to the first section?
I second that emotion, John. It's really important for us to expand our minds and to just get out of what we see around us because there's so much more to it. And I think the way that this show is going to unfold nice and gently and easily, it's really going to make sense for your mind to be able to open.
Yes, absolutely. And just before we go to that, we've got
We
Denise
got it.
with us now, happily joining us from Vancouver Island today, beautiful Vancouver Island. Uh,
Welcome.
also got Joy Castleman. She's with us from Yorkshire, about
Hi, Joy.
50 miles north of where I am, and that's a beautiful part of the world that Joy is living in there as well. So thank you. Thank you to all of us, all of you who are here with us today, supporting the Elevated Planet cause, our community. Exciting times, new Earth, exciting times, and this is all about the journey to the new Earth and
Yes.
what to expect in the years ahead. And this is the good news: is that the Z's have got a lot of encouraging things to say. It's not necessarily going to be a straight line to get there, but there's a lot of good stuff to look forward to, and I think that's what this is really about.
Yes.
So, should we do it, Jolene? Should we hit the button?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let's hit the button.
They say if you're still alive, get curious about what's next for you to experience because it's not a mistake that you're alive. There's a reason you're alive. They say it's very easy to die. It's very easy to be taken out by your soul, and your soul will decide when it's time. And your soul, they always say, will decide when it's time based on others. This is one of the things that came up in the audiobook, which was educational to me. They said, you sometimes think as humans that your death is all about when it's correct for you to die. But they say that you always, at a soul level, weigh up the timing of your death as to how and when it's going to affect your community. So they used in the book Princess Diana as an example of someone who catalyzed a lot of grief and healing because she was a very focal point to, so many people all over the world. That the timing of her death was very impactful for everybody. And equally, those of us who aren't, globally known like she was, the timing of our death is going to correspond with how it's going to affect our closest people and how it's going to positively or negatively affect their lives. And I found that very interesting. It's why certain people hold on. You go, why are they still holding on? Because it isn't quite time yet for the daughter or the granddaughter, but at the right time, it will be time. It's funny. I personally have never believed that we are here to control our reality to only be light, joy, because I don't think that's what this planet is. I think this planet has all of those things, but this planet is everything. And we've all incarnated at a time where, the war imprint, which the Z's refer to actually in the audiobook, they talk about the war imprint.
Yeah.
And
What does that mean?
Well, they say that the war imprint is man-made. It's not that there aren't galactic wars, and they talk about that too. They say there have been wars for just since forever. But they do say that there are groups on this planet who are for it, and there are other groups who are against it. So in a way, we're in a frequency war, meaning those who are here to create more love, compassion, caring with one another and for the planet, they're one group. And those who are here to shall we say, control and oppress humanity, they're a different group. So I think what's so painful for all of us when we see this happening is, to us, it looks like sheer insanity. For the people pushing the buttons, the question is going to be, at what point this is what I think, at what point does the gap between governmental control and the people lessen? At what point does that gap get closer? And I think that's where we are as a society right now. Equally, I think we incarnate into this planet knowing that when we're gone, it's actually an easier state of being. So I think with anyone who you're losing right now, whether it's through the war or whether it's through other things that happen to, all of us in life, we experience things ourselves or we lose someone in a tragic car accident or any of that stuff. I think there's a human aspect to it that we go through as a grief process and a horror process. And then there's also a spiritual perspective. And I think from a spiritual perspective, this lifetime that you're in is seen as an experience. But from your identity or from my identity, it can get a lot more charged emotionally and mentally. So it's, that there's no way to see it. It's all going to be personal. It's all going to be your perspective. But I do, I think what's so devastating for so many of us about these wars is the insanity of them. And when you realize that they're really about the redistribution of wealth, power, and resources, and that people are not considered in those things. People, we're told that we are, but we're not. And there are so many people who've researched that and have much more insight on that than I have. But I've heard from those people, I've read a lot, and yeah, it's one of the biggest shadows on our planet.
I always find the subject of death very interesting, and not in a macabre sort of way, in fact, quite the opposite, in a joyous kind of way. Here, the Z's, care of Lee, tell it as it is. My understanding is that we have exit points built into our pre-birth life plan, but that the choice of which exit is taken depends on the wisdom of the soul and the overarching knowledge of the bigger picture that surrounds us. And one very important point that Lee makes here is that due to the nature of the roller coaster of emotions that we experience here in the physical realm, The ultimate release, represented by death, or our transition from the physical body as it could be more accurately described, is to an easier state of being. And I'm convinced that that is an understatement. We choose our life on earth to experience the contrast presented by duality. Once we cross the veil and go home, we are back to our normal existence of love and light, because that is who we really are. We are light, whose vibration has been slowed massively so that we can assume physicality, which is far from our natural state as non-physical consciousness. We are here to experience things that cannot be experienced in the non-physical realm. And believe it or not, we are here to enjoy ourselves, regardless of the war imprint and all the other distractions playing out right now. Be mindful that many people are here on the planet to act as catalysts for the change from duality to new Earth unity-based consciousness. Princess Diana was one of these, and many others agreed to die in wars or as victims of weather weapons, as we're seeing playing out a great deal right now, so that we finally take a stand and say, no longer in my name. We take back our power, and indeed that consciousness revolution is already well underway. But don't expect mainstream media to be reporting on it anytime soon. Understanding our power as individuals and our enormous power as a collective is the foundation of the success that is already unfolding around us. There is still plenty of time for people to experience their trigger points to awakening on their individuated journeys, and it could get quite lively along the way as part of these frequency wars that are playing out. But always remember, regardless of appearances, everything is in divine order. We can be on our eagle's perch. We can find our divine neutrality, which means that we avoid feeding fear and anger and those negative emotions into the quantum field, which only accentuate its growth. We are going to be on the other side of that equation, offering love, light, compassion, and kindness, and all the good stuff that helps to raise the frequency around the planet to the fifth dimension and beyond, and of course our world of unspeakable beauty. So Jolé, what would you care to add?
You know, that war imprint is not just outside of us. It is also inside of us, and that is a great place to begin to dismantle it, is within us. And it's because we've been so focused on our intellect, and there's so much duality around knowledge. When we become one with our heart and our soul, we really step into the wisdom. And in that wisdom, it gives us power because we start to critically think, and we pair that with our intuition. And that's what wisdom's all about. But the war imprint has us doubting ourselves, has us second guessing our connection to the divine and our sovereignty and freedom. And so let's begin by working out the duality within us, by giving credence to our feelings at times, you know, of course, with guardrails, with rules, and in alignment with the laws, of course. However, let's really give ourselves the credit that we deserve and our intuition. Let's work with that so that we can then sit in from a heart-centered place. We can create unity within ourselves, which then what reverberates out into our environment.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. Okay, thank you very much, Jolé. And now back to the Z's.
What we see happening for humanity in the coming 5 to 10 years is a series of radical shifts and many improvements. There will be many improvements around health, around vitality and well-being for humans that this technology can usher in, but it will all depend where the control around the technology is. You are also at a time where your human health systems are going through a breakdown and a shift because they have become, we will say, corrupted in many ways. Now, we have to be careful when we say that, because the truth is, if you removed your human health system tomorrow, you would all be in trouble because you have become dependent on it, understandably. But what we are saying is the power of this technology to serve those on the planet versus to be used to create more power for those in power on the planet. That is the battle that you are in right now. And it's no different to the battle you've been in all of this time before AI appeared. So You are going to see great advances. You are also going to see some areas where AI creates or causes what we will call a certain level of damage. And it is when that damage is seen, witnessed, and felt by humanity, stronger calls for control will rise. At the moment, people do not know what they do not know. And until certain things have played out, there will not necessarily be regulations put in place to protect that from happening again. We can tell you between 2026 and 2028, you are going to see some extraordinary breakthroughs in human health. The ability to repair people's ailments, illnesses, in ways that you have never seen in your generation. And these are going to be brought forward. We know some of you worry that these things get suppressed. They will not be suppressed. They will come forward. And that will change the game for so many people and so many aspects of society. But equally, you are going to see a reckoning between humans and leadership around the world regarding how humans are able to survive and provide for themselves with the rise of technology replacing what you would call human jobs and work. So that is going to be ultimately a very positive reckoning that takes place, but it will take a few years to play out fully, and it will require humans standing up for their rights, which they will. And at times it will be charged and seem intense emotionally to some of you, but it will be the breakthrough that is required to shift humanity forward into a different place when it comes to technology versus humanity instead of technology with humanity.
Some will be familiar with the subject of medbeds, these miraculous devices that do not just resolve diseases but can even assist people in regrowing limbs that have been lost. Indeed, such a thing happened for a man by the name of Tony Rodrigues, who lost an arm while defending a friend from an attack by a reptilian while on the Mars base. So, in one short sentence there, I know I've completely lost any remaining credibility with those who are unaware of the fact that humans have a base on Mars already, through the secret space program, which is just a small section of the unacknowledged special access projects. Regardless, I'll put a link to Tony's website in the details below so you can explore for yourself and make your own mind up. But I'll give you a clue, it's all true. But shh, don't tell anybody, it's secret. Anyway, my understanding is that medbeds are already under production on the moon, and yes, it stands to reason that if we're already on Mars, then clearly we have to have moon bases. And of course, there are not just humans up there. Meanwhile, production can take place in secret, allowing the rollout to humanity to appear like this is something new, rather than something that has been withheld. These things are completely game-changing and will, in time, replace the corruption of the pharmaceutical and health service industry that have been designed around profiteering and control rather than to serve humanity. And that is not to denigrate those wonderful health service workers who do their best for the people, albeit based on a misinformed educational system. We know that the Rife machine created by Royal Rife that was produced over 100 years ago was completely suppressed, as its use of frequencies to simply cancel out cancer did not offer the profits that the industry demanded from operations, radiation, long-term care, and the use of drugs. We can look forward to the rollout of medbeds in various obscure forms in the years ahead. Till then, it will be our secret that they've been available a lot longer than will be claimed. So, shh, don't tell anybody.
For the younger people who are coming in, they cannot get so involved with Earth. They cannot get so involved with old earthly ways because it is not in their recent history as a body or as an identity. It is in flux and it is chaotic. So it is leaving a lot of them, we will say, freer to be cosmically connected. The gift of this is the ones who are wired for higher consciousness and are given an experience of higher consciousness by those who raise them and the love and the support that they need to become themselves. They will do very, very well, and they will be important leaders for humanity's future. But equally, there will be many who will not know how to ground. because they will not know where they can ground, and they will also be dealing with parents or guardians or caretakers who can't ground at a time where the world is in flux. So this is why any of you who are guardians or parental figures to young people right now, you need to understand that the rule book is very different to when you were growing up. And so you have to be a little more creative, responsive, and unique in the way you guide them, and understand that that's okay. Understand that they are growing up at a very fast time in humanity's history. But if you connect with them soul to soul, heart to heart, higher mind to higher mind, you will have some extraordinary experiences with these children.
That was so beautiful. And I really agree, because we're moving into a transitional period as far as raising our children as well. Because in the past, we used to be into this militaristic sort of spare the rod, spoil the child type of energy that we're really moving out of, because studies have shown, and we have evolved in realizing that beating on our children and being harsh, kneeling on rice and things like that are very damaging, and it does really compound over the years. And so now we're seeing that our children are here for us to guide, for us to work with. We are stewards of them. We don't own them. Whereas back in the day, we really felt ownership over our children. Now we realize with these millennials, with their phones and this technology and all this knowledge, that our relationship has to transform and change to be one of not necessarily equality, but looking at this child and understanding that it has its own purpose, its own being of light, and that we're just here to cultivate that and to help it exist, to protect it, and to raise it in a way that it gives back and it becomes a holistic being.
Yeah, totally. That's where the future lies, right there. So thank you, Jolé. And now we are going to Elena Danaan. She was one of the speakers at the GCIS conference down in Eastbourne in May. And honestly, her work is incredible.
My name is Elena Danaan. I am an Awakener. I came here to help and guide humanity reconnecting with their true nature and power, and embracing their sovereignty. I came from a place very far away from here, and like many others, I chose as a mission of heart to come and help humanity of Earth in their great awakening. I was born into this existence from a long ancient line of Baltic shamans. I traveled this planet and worked many years as a field archaeologist, mainly in Egypt, working for the French and the Egyptian governments in Luxor, Karnak, Cairo, the Valley of the Kings, and Dendera. I was initiated there into the secrets and rituals of ancient Egyptian magic. And I followed later the path of the ancient Druids to complete my knowledge and the connection with the magic of the universe. Certified Druidess and Celtic Priestess, I worked at service to the human community in Ireland until the day I embraced my mission fully as an awakener for the greater human community of Earth and an emissary of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Contactee and experiencer since my earliest childhood, I share the knowledge I have learned from my extraterrestrial protectors for the benefit of humankind. I wrote A Gift from the Stars, a book that tells the story of my abductions at the age of 9 by aliens from Zeta Reticuli, and my rescue by benevolent extraterrestrials from the Galactic Federation of Worlds, who have been protecting me all my life, and with whom I remain in contact to this day. This book includes not only my true story, but also the complete repertoire of the alien races involved with Earth, a star map, where they come from, their different agendas, all the alliances, federations and councils, illustrated by myself. I am also the author of Resilience and the French fantasy saga Chandora. Artist, musician, singer, I use my talents at the service of the greater community of the human species. I came here to tell you that we, people, are the disclosure, that we have the power and that we always had it, because it is to us that belongs the sovereignty of this planet. We are extremely powerful. The Great Awakening has started, and this process is irreversible and exponential. In this historical liberation from long millenniums of slavery, I have the privilege to take your hand and guide you to reach the next level in the evolution of consciousness and enter the galactic community as equal beings, free. May you walk and work in the light, and may you be light, because this is what you are made of.
And we're back. So, yeah, light. That is what we're made of.
Definitely made of light.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? But it's
Yes.
also, this is like our frequency is slowed down till we can get into this physical life, this adventure, this roller coaster. I find it really interesting. And just focusing on Elena Danaan. When she spoke at the conference in Eastbourne in May, she is just an incredible person here for a very special purpose. And this idea of being the Earth emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds is absolutely right. That is who she is. And they call it, and I kind of put it as Terran, not as in terror, as in frightened, but terror as in Terra, because that is the way that the Galactics, that's what they call Earth, is terror, right? So, but going back over this, I've got a few points I want to make, and Jolé, just keep firing the questions and let's just make it into a discussion. But I mean, one of the things that was said early on by the Z's was or in fact, by Lee Harris rather than the Z's, but he was talking about Princess Diana, how she was like one of these catalysts. And she was. I mean, she was a catalyst as a human being because she was so kind and compassionate and fearless in what she approached. But people also knew that her death was very suspicious. I mean, well, I say not everybody did. In fact, I believed for the longest time that it was like, because, when prior to my awakening, I mean, I just said, well, how could that have been anything other than an accident? And I kind of know now that, these things happen like the way that they are put together. But it's part of this catalyst thing. The same way when people die in wars, they have agreed that in their life plan that that would be what they would do because it helps to awaken people to the pointlessness of war and to bring people into their heart, into compassion and kindness. And it was in conversations with God, he actually said no one dies without their prior agreement. Right now, it's not a conscious agreement, but it's an interesting point. But it also helps us by understanding that. We also know that if events happen in the world and there's a lot of people who leave, transcend this planet at the same time, just know it is part of a divine order. It's part of a divine plan. And it shouldn't stop us from feeling grief. It shouldn't stop us from all those human emotions because that is all we are, also who we are. That's which is exactly what Lee Harris said. So what do you think, Jolé?
I think that is, spot on. It resonates. We really have to stop thinking linearly, I want to say, and also up and down. Maybe there is a way to think along parallels.
Mm,
And that's what you and I think, are trying to create, is letting people know, hey, maybe there's more to it than what you've been told or what you've believed. And we're kind of here to explore that. It's
yeah,
not to be afraid of.
yeah. No, and it's a very good point because that linear thing is something which I think in the fifth dimensional world, it's not going to be the same as 3D time as we have it. I think that this is where we start to realize that time has to exist in this physical reality because it's what kind of helps us make sense of it.
Right.
But once you get into these higher dimensional realms, it's different. It's kind of it's supposedly what's the word? Spherical, right? Time is
Yes.
spherical. And you think, well, how does that work, right? Because we think of it as a straight line. Well, it's spherical,
Right.
which is why people can time travel because you can intersect that timeline. It's like when you pass back over to the other side, and if you ever go to a medium and they will be telling you about, they will be talking about things that they couldn't have been for at the time, but they can actually recount it as if they were actually there because they've gone back to look at it.
Yeah, that's very true. Past life regressions have done so much for people, in terms of removing trauma and blocks. So these things really, energy is real. I think there was also a study, the gentleman who does Ho'oponopono, who discovered that. I'm not exactly sure. It could have been Dispenza as well, but they said even praying, having a group of prisoners pray for their past to undo that
Mm,
really reverberated, like it changed some things, which then changed the trajectory of the future.
yeah.
So this is really some of the stuff that we really got to expand our minds and able in order to be able to tap into it, because these are our gifts.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why it's so good to have a community around this because, none of this makes absolute sense to all of us, right? You can just read this stuff and you think, well, hang on a second, I've had 65 years of programming that have told me to the contrary. So how can I suddenly now switch to believe that time is no longer linear? It's actually spherical. Well, how does it work? But it starts to make sense. The more
Yeah.
you kind of look at this and you start to then apply, well, that explains why. Right? Because this is one of the interesting things as well. I have to come back to this as well because it's in conversations with God when he's talking about religion and he's talking about the fact that they encourage you never to question, right?
Hmm.
It just is this. Accept it and move forward. Because if you stop and think about it, actually it doesn't make sense. You need a deeper explanation. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like we've almost been brainwashed, well, or not almost, we have been brainwashed into believing this particular version of reality that we've been fed since we were children. And our parents were fed that before them and then go back thousands of years. Because as Elena herself said, she's here as an awakener to awaken us to the fact that we've been in a period of slavery for thousands of years. And because we've grown up in it, we don't even realize we have been.
Right. It's normal to us. and it totally goes against the laws, but somewhere along the line, we've got to take our power back because we gave it away, whether it was inadvertently, subconsciously, accidentally, it doesn't matter. It's time for us to take our power back, because what's going on with us is we've signed up to be hosts.
Yes. Yeah. And I think what it is you're thinking back to this, right? So this last 13,000 year cycle of this whole 26,000 year cycle. So it's this precession of the equinox, which is like 26,000 years where the sun travels around the galaxy. And it's broken into two 13,000 year cycles. Atlantis ended the last cycle 13,000 years ago or thereabouts. Then you've got this new cycle, which is the cycle of separation and mind, as opposed to heart and unity. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like, and again, you go back to the hypnotist journey to Avalon, which was Sarah Bressman Cosme, which we studied quite a bit, and probably go back to that at some stage because I find it ultimately fascinating. But the fact is that, we've been going through this cycle of separation, and it's the architect of this is Thoth, right? The architect of Ascension. And when Mother Earth, Gaia Mother Earth, put her hand up and said, I want to do this Ascension thing, he said, right, okay, first we've got to do this. We have to go into duality. We have to go into this separateness. We have to go through this. So whilst, yes, there are absolutely been protagonists that have dragged us down into a lot more depths, the fact is it is by, divine decree, if you like. But this is the end of that era. This is the beginning of a new era. This is the beginning of the golden age where we come back into heart-based unity consciousness, which is who we really are. Because, this is something that I think, didn't we discuss this earlier about saying, like as a fetus, once there's conception, then the first thing that grows is a heart, right? That's all there is. At the outset, is a heart. And then everything else grows out from the heart. And so, the heart is our motherboard, right, to the universe. And that's basically what we're going back to. So I think that it is by design, but this is the time that we do wake up. This is the time when we go back into this age of Aquarius, which is, no longer egoic, top-down control, masculine energy. And we're moving more into that feminine energy. We're moving back into that collaborative energy where we work together as a community. And I find it really exciting. And I just want to come to the Elena's books, because she mentioned about this, which is the book which I've read a great deal of it, Gift from the Stars, because I find one of the most interesting things about this is 110 alien races who are connected one way or another to Earth. So they're connected to us one way or another. And it details it. It goes through each one. And in fact, that's where, when I was recounting in recent times the fact that, the reptilians have been around for 15,000 years. And here it is in the book. I go through and I highlight certain sections because I find it really interesting. But yeah, they've been permanently on Terra, as they call it, for 15,000 years, and sporadically going back much longer to millions of years. But the only way to get them off the planet is is typically through the intervention of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, or at least with the help of species more advanced technologically in warfare than the invaded population. We are the invaded population, but they are fourth density beings. We're going to the fifth density. They can't survive in a fifth density kind of environment. So they're trying to keep us as low as possible. They work through the Illuminati. They're trying to keep our vibration low. They're trying to introduce more wars, more fear, more anger, but we don't fall for it, because where we have our absolute power is through collective consciousness as well as individual consciousness. And once we step into that power, as we are doing every week now, because we're doing our Pam Gregory meditation every Thursday for anybody who can make it, as well as when we're doing that work with you, Jolé, and each one of those is a collective meditation as well when we go through that. And I think that's beautiful.
It absolutely is. We're waking up, as beings of light. You can see there's a lot of people out there who are beginning to wake up and say, oh, this, my intuition has connected with this, and they're giving us messages. Now, we all know we need guardrails around our imaginary friends. Nevertheless, it's happening much more than it was before.
Yes, it was. Yeah, and I feel the pace of this now, and I, as of this month, from that, the Earth split, which we saw early in July, this is now the
Mhm.
timeline split where things. And it could mean that, the dark is going to get darker, which enables the light to get lighter. And we see that split get ever wider, which then awakens people, because that's when you start to see that actually this is not just a homogenized thing. This is now getting darker. This is now getting lighter. Where are we going to head? Where do you individually choose to head? Now, one of the things I did want to mention was another book by Elena, which I'm also reading right now. I'm reading a lot of books, but this one, which is Koldas. Koldas Beyond Neptune, and it is a fascinating book. And one of the things, Jolé, that really made me think about this was actually going back to that point, and you spoke about this just a few minutes ago about the young people, right? And
Yeah.
how they're different, right? And you've got young people, right?
Yes, yes.
That you're
They're very
nurturing.
aware,
Yeah.
very aware.
And that's important, because when you think about it, if I think about all my friends and relatives, very few are actually awake. So if they're bringing up younger generations, they don't know how to ground. They don't
Right.
know how to, to work with chakras. They don't know how to treat them any way other than how they were brought up, and replicating that cycle. So it's important. And what was interesting about Koldas Beyond Neptune,
Mhm.
this is when Elena, and again, this gets very fantastical, but it is, again, hand on heart, I only share stuff that I believe to be true. But this is where she journeys with Thorhan, is her soulmate, Pleiadian soulmate, who she has lived many lives with over thousands and thousands of years. But they went to Neptune along with another guy who, again, another alien race, as we would look at it. And they went to Neptune. But the reason they went to Neptune was because there's a Stargate in an underwater city on Neptune
Mm.
that goes into a different universe. This different universe has this planet, which is Koldas, right? And you can see one of the Koldasian kind of images on there. And the other thing that makes these books so very readable and so relatable is the quality of Elena's illustrations and pictures. They're outstanding. So, they really do speak to you in more ways than just the words. The visuals kind of help it to really embed itself. And this book has got light, it has light codes in it. You feel yourself awakening as you go through it. So anybody who's curious, I recommend any of her books, but certainly this one is her most recent one, because the trip that she did to Neptune was in 2022. And she was there, gone for a couple of months or so, because having gone through the Stargate to Koldas, the reason they had to do it was that was the way then that they could travel to a separate universe again, which has what is called as the architects, which is a very highly evolved species who are architects of universes and species and various things like that. I've only not got to the end of it yet. But what really interested me in amongst that as well was that the way that the Koldassians are as a community, the way they nurture their children, it is absolutely a thing of beauty. And even as I was reading it, I'm thinking that is how New Earth is going to be in the future. This is how we're going to relate to our young folks, and our young folks are going to relate to us, because
Mhm.
it's just it's based in love. It's definitely not classroom based knowledge learning, teaching people what the previous generation have believed,
Mhm.
and embedding it that way is completely different. And when you read it, you just think, wow, we could do this too. We could. We'll do our own version of it, but it will happen. It may take a few years because there's an entire system to dismantle, and a bit like with
Mhm.
the health system, you can't just scrap it all in one day and build a new one the next. You've got to kind of like morph one into the other. But I honestly believe that's where we're going. But it gives a beautiful template for how life on Earth is going to be in the future when you look at Koldas. But what really, just one more point I'll make on that before I'll shut up and let you speak, but it actually comes back to the flower of life. One of the things you see represented a lot in the Koldas villages is the flower of life on the side of many buildings.
Mm-hmm.
The understanding is that in fact, let me just put I've got a visual for a flower of life here. Just bear with me a second. So what you see here, this is like the Egyptian flower of life. And they're in all the pyramids, all the sacred buildings you will always have seen. There's always flowers of life, which is just interlocking circles. So what you find is that you've got these different universes. They all have like a circle, say, for instance, this circle here, if I kind of outline that, which interlinks with other circles along the way. And therefore, there are some that you can skip from one universe to the next through stargates, but you have to go. She had to go Neptune to Koldas to get to where the architect's universe is. So it kind of like interests me because, again, having been somebody who's studied a lot of Drunvalo's work, right?
Yeah.
The ancient secret to the flower of life. Drunvalo knows a thing or two about this. This is, sacred geometry exists for a reason. And he breaks this down an awful lot. So all this really interlinks. And anyway, before I say any more.
Isn't that fascinating? Like, and even you can apply it to time because while you were talking about time, I was looking at it as a pattern because you have a clock, right? It goes around. So everything, and even a calendar goes around. So even though they have taken the principle, but they've locked us into something where it's not building upon itself or where we don't have access to these other portals of time. But the flower of life is proving to us that it's all interlinked. We do have access to this. So that's kind of what I guess is the reason why, even in expansiveness and in opening ourselves up to there being other beings and other worlds, we're actually bringing in some of that energy to sort of unlock, open up these portals and really teach us how to remember, I guess,
Yeah.
These principles. Because what you're explaining is a pattern, a principle that has come down through the ages and it has not changed. You look at the pineapple, the beehive, the flower of life, all the Fibonacci sequence, the seashell,
Exactly.
all of these things are echoing or telling us something powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is connected.
It is. It is. It all comes down to the same kind of things. And I think this is what, to my mind, I love uncovering this stuff. And there was more as well that came through. We talked about Tony Rodrigues, and we're going to
Yes.
explore Tony's work in the future as well, because again, there's very important stuff there that once we start to realize and open our minds up to what really is out there at the moment, these med beds. And
Mhm.
and I know it sounds ridiculous to say that he lost an arm in a fight with a reptilian on Mars, but that is exactly what happened by all accounts. Now, unless I've misremembered it, but that's what Tony told us. And it's kind of it was the tail, right? The reptilian tail. It just literally severed his arm off. But then he gets taken to the med beds. He survived the attack, as did his friend, and he was taken off to the med beds. They managed to they were able to replace his arm with one that is just like his arm. I mean, this is incredible technology. And it's like these books here, right? We talked about this a lot. Transylvanian Sunrise by Radu Cinema and Peter Moon, and the etheric crystal, right? This is all about the underground tunnels. This is all about the technology that's been found underground, which is 50,000 years old. And it's consciousness-based technology. So you're not pulling levers and pressing buttons. You're connecting with these computers, if you want to call them that, these holographic projectors. And you sort of like say in your own mind, I want to understand the true history of humanity. And I say that because that's exactly what Radu Cinema did. He wanted to see the history of humanity playing out. So he actually got to see it. And what he also realized is that it bears no resemblance to the human history that we've been told. No resemblance. So that is one of the things that is due to unfold to us as well. But this consciousness-based technology if like if we're talking about alien civilizations that have been around for billions of years and we're actually a relatively new species, there is a hybrid of 20 odd different sort of like different parts of DNA to come together to create the human avatar, right?
Right.
That's what it is. So we have this is our technology as it stands at the moment. Yes, we've been accelerating massively over the last 75 to 100 years, 125 years even. But at the same time, this is scratching the surface of where we're heading because as our consciousness rises, we are going to discover this new technology. I love the idea that medbeds are coming our way. And I know that the Z's didn't say it was medbeds, right? But I
Mhm.
know that they are in
Right.
production on the moon.
Yeah.
So they're going to be coming our way. And but it's a question, and I think you mentioned this to me actually, Jolé, when we discussed this the other day. How will they be charged for, right? Does this go under old Earth technology, and they want to now say,
Right.
yeah,
Is
are
it
they, if all of a sudden these things all have a big price tag attached to them, you say, oh yeah, you want to live forever, you want to do this, you want to do that, you want to use your med beds, okay, right? Have you got the right insurance?
right? Do you have the right bank account number? Because that is going to even be more. This is why this work is so important, because the divide that's happening and that they're trying to create is a chasm that is going to create a thing where, well, I'm wealthy, so I can just get a med bed. And then somebody who is suffering, a child who parents may not have that money, what's going to happen to them? Oh no, you can't be in the med bed.
Yeah,
What's that going to create, right? What kind of energy is that creating? So through meditation, visualization, coming together, working on yourself,
yeah,
you might be able to get a med bed.
yeah. And that's the thing. Well, the new Earth, right? There's no way on new Earth
Not
these
funny,
things are
but
not accessible right throughout the world for anybody who needs it.
right.
That is our future. But we know what the old Earth version of that would be, right? Because it
Yes.
has been suppressed for a lot of years, because these things have been known about, they've been available.
Yes.
But as with the Rife machine, back in 1923.
I mean, and they've destroyed it. I mean, we have good people out there who are Rife people. You can go online and you can find a Rife machine and they work. And guess what? You don't even know about it. You don't hear about it. All you hear, and then you see these commercials that they'll tell you take this drug, but guess what? It's going to make you vomit. You're going to have a heart attack. You might die. You might get brain cancer. Your leg might fall off, but take this drug.
I know, I know. A pill for everything, as Dolores said. That's what they're trying to sell you. And it's just kind of like, it's nice to know that this era of suppression and secrecy and control is giving way to something beautiful, right?
Yes.
That is going to feel so good to us because again we come to this physical life for contrast, right? Because once we're back in non-physical, you've got love, light, joy, happiness all around you. But
Oh,
the
there
fact is
is.
that to
Mhm.
have the contrast that we have here in the density of Earth means that where we're heading is going to feel absolutely off the scale brilliant because we've had to learn through this duality process.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
that's what we're going to meditate about too, is really trying to disconnect from the core of that duality or what causes it and really get into unity.
yeah,
Because unity consciousness means that you love yourself and then you can see yourself in other people. Therefore, the love extends and expands, right?
yeah,
Because it's not just you. And if it is you, it's different expressions of you that you're still in love with,
yeah.
So I just look forward to that.
Yes, and I think we should head to the meditation any moment now. And one
Yes.
final thing to mention before we do so, actually, is Isa Visanti, who does the breath work and the
Uh-huh.
dyad and various other things. I'm a member of her group now, and she does brilliant work. I love her work. But on the 22nd of July, on Mary Magdalene Day, they are
Hmm.
doing a pilgrimage 16 miles around the lake in order to go to the holy site. And she asked if there could be prayers offered by Sunday evening at the latest because that energy is going to help them. Group consciousness energy is really high and it's for a beautiful cause. So I thought I'd throw that in there.
And
So
that's this week.
that's this week. That's in just 2 days' time. Okay, so right, I see that we have our shamanic friend here, Sean the Shaman.
Hi,
Talk to the
Sean.
priest. She's made it 2 weeks in a row. Brilliant. We love you. Thanks for being here, along with everybody else. We love you too. But it's that time now, right? We're going to go into
Yes.
meditation. So I'm going to just step aside and leave you to work your magic. We're going to start with a little bit of the Z's to lead us in.
The most important thing for any of you on any given day is to ask yourself, how am I doing today? And be honest with yourself about how you are feeling. And if you are feeling in a way that feels distressing or difficult or heavy or painful for you, ask yourself, what can I do today to bring myself some soothing, some relief, or some light? And you can choose a very small, simple, short activity. You may decide you need to give yourself 2 hours away from what it is that you need to do in order to reset. It will be different on different days, but don't forget yourselves in these times. It's very easy for any of you to get pulled into the out there of it all. This is a very important time for you to not only come back to who you are, but discover who you are at this very new time on earth, and therefore this very new time in who you are.
So put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up on your thighs. Bring your awareness to the center of your chest and begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body. Take deep belly breaths as you relax your body and tell your nervous system, I am safe. We are safe. And from this heart-centered space, ground your energy by visualizing a grounding cord between your sit bones, 6 inches in diameter. And this grounding cord is straight from divine. And it begins to move through the layers of Mother Earth, traveling at the speed of love and making its way into the core. Connected, feeling that nurturing energy. Give Mother Earth some gratitude. Tell her thank you so much for feeding me, clothing me, and sheltering me. And when it comes time to bring that golden sun down, make sure you see a little bit of that essence go to her. You're going to pull your aura in to be 1.5 feet around you, while those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles blanket the inside and the outside of your grounding cord. You're going to call your higher self to stand at the power position above your crown at a comfortable distance and snap in your astral body, feet in feet, knees in knees, hips in hips, hands in hands, shoulders in shoulders, head in head. And your astral body fits inside of your physical body like a hand fits inside of a glove. This is your soul architecture. As you breathe, let it settle in. Bring your awareness back to your heart and visualize the bottoms of your feet opening like the lens of a camera. And see Mother Earth energy. 15% of it, she knows exactly how much to send up, of a color that resonates with you. See it or feel it. pooling in the bottoms of your feet, gaining momentum and starting to travel up the side channels of your legs, traveling upstream towards that first chakra. And while this is taking place, visualize your crown opening like the lens of a camera. And now the heavens know what to do, and they send that beautiful cosmic gold life force energy raining down from the heavens onto your higher self, through your higher self, your aura layer, through your aura layer, and into your crown, creating new pathways, neurotransmitters, and synapses that support your journey, getting into that DNA and moving out disease and illness, prompting the breaking of generational curses as it moves in that prefrontal cortex, moving out that worry, doubt, and fear, traveling into the center of the head, decalcifying the pineal, recharging the endocrine system, bringing you back to factory reset in the highest and most loving way, creating a pattern of wellness within the mind, the body, and the spirit. As this essence then begins to travel down the spine, lighting up each vertebra, and the nervous system starts to pump, opening up the front and the back of that chakra, sending out that light and that signal of love, personal power, creativity, and safety, as it then mixes in with that energy in that first chakra. Some of it moves down that grounding cord, but it then begins to fill you up like water fills up a cup. And as this essence moves through your lower body, your knees, your hips, your thighs, it's just moving out negativity, moving out what no longer serves. As it moves up into the stomach and the lower part of your organs here, cleaning and clearing, moving up, 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 up into the chest, moving up, bifurcating, separating down into the hands, moving through those hands, working out any stiffness in the joints, in the elbow as it moves up into the shoulders, back up the neck, into the head, the cranium, sprouting out the side channels of the feet and the crown as it fills up the inside of each layer of the aura, and it sprouts out of your hand chakras, fully bringing all of that energy into your energy field. It's just love and joy and laughter, all together creating unspeakable beauty in your life. And now that this love is all throughout you, and this cosmic life force energy of joy, compassion, and unconditional love with the reality of Mother Earth, we're now going to work on removing and resolving that war imprint that we carry due to programming and conditioning that we had really no choice in. So let's let it go because it doesn't belong to us. How do we do that? Take a deep breath in. You want to hold it for a moment. Exhale gently and ask, command your body to show you where in my body am I holding a war imprint? And let it appear as this earth energy and this cosmic life force energy raises the frequency and the vibration of your energy field, revealing this low vibrational program within your body. Identify it, call it out, and then tell it, you know what, thank you for being here. Thank you for teaching me the lessons that I needed to learn. However, it's time for you to go out of my energy field, out of my family line, out of my life completely on all levels, all planes, all parallel lives, ancestrally, every way, 360 degrees of your removal. So it's called cancel, pull, deleting on a soul core and genetic level, resolving and dissolving on a history level. As you put a golden rose, visualize in front of this part of your body, and you let it just hover there for a moment. And then you visualize 2 roses, 5 feet to the right and to the left of you. Big, huge, beautiful roses, universal trash bags that transmute negative energy into positive, creative life force energy for anyone to use. And as this golden rose is just hovering there in front of the part of the body this program resides, we're going to see this program gently and with grace and ease be removed from our bodies energetically, because that's what it is. It's a program. It's stacked and coded. Remove it. Allow for this golden rose to suck it out of your energy field. Capture it, close up, and move into one of those roses to the right and to the left outside your aura. As you give it an energetic push, you blow it up, you turn it into fireworks, positive, creative life force energy for anyone to use. Golden sun above your head, filled with sovereignty. And as you bring that down through the higher self, down through the aura layer into the crown, it moves into the place where that program was. Filling it up with your own energy, your own divine purpose, connection, collaboration. And so now, take a deep breath in, exhale, and I want you to visualize. Let us visualize stepping into a beautiful garden, which is right outside our back door, and grabbing our breakfast, our lunch, and our dinner, and seeing our family there. And all of a sudden you hear a knock, and there's a neighbor saying to you, hey man, I made some pancakes. You want some? Here's some coffee. You know, and then you come out and you see your neighborhood and everybody is there collectively loving on each other, laughing, cooking. There's babies. And down the street, there's yoga. Maybe there's a class on finances. And there's old Joe maybe chopping wood. But everything that you imagine, and maybe the beach is right there within walking distance. As this feeling of bliss has come over you, and you're living in a place where peace, kindness, abundance, and the laws of the universe are what are powering this pattern of the flower of life. So see that visual of your neighborhood and your home in unspeakable beauty, and place the flower of life over this image and let it resolve and dissolve into it. bringing this golden love and permanency to this image within you. As this energy of Mother Earth, 15% of a color that resonates with you, that 85% cosmic gold, moves throughout the body, cleaning you up, releasing what no longer serves, sending it down the grounding cord. And then this limitless potential moves throughout all the cells of your body as you see yourself living in a state where your nervous system is pumping, it's safe, it knows that it is allowed to thrive. From this state, see yourself sending love, gold light, positive energy to war-torn areas. And as you take a deep breath in and exhale, I want you to bring your awareness back to the center of your heart. And here, I have located a connection between the limbic system and the heart. This is another program within us. We need to disconnect from war-like energy, competition, ego-based connections. We want to move into soul-based connections. So we want to let go of the animalistic, impulsive, negatively spontaneous energy and behaviors we're exhibiting that, of course, have been programmed within us. So just like you unplug your phone or unplug an electronic device, you are going to visualize, we are going to visualize the unplugging of this wire, this connection from the heart and from the limbic system, which is located at the base of the brain. And just command it to be so. And you see it now free floating. And now move it down the grounding cord. And I want you to see this wire move itself down the grounding cord. This essence of Mother Earth and the divine, the frequency's too high. It's got to go down. Watch it travel as some earth energy and gold cosmic life force follows behind it. And I want you to take this visualization all the way down into the core of Mother Earth. And you see this wire sizzle and turn into creative life force energy for anyone to use, and some gold light from you into Mother Earth. Yes, those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles are still doing their thing. Maybe a few fell off, but being cleaned inside and the outside of the grounding cord, still being worked on. So now we're going to put a golden sun above our head. And in this, we're going to put serenity. We're going to see the Creator put serenity into this golden sun. And it then catches the rhythm of that lake of gold cosmic life force energy as it moves down through the higher self, down through the aura layer. It focuses itself, comes down into the crown, and it moves right there into the limbic system, retracing the steps of the wire as it moves down into the center of the heart. And then it extends and expands all throughout the body, mixing in with that earth energy and that cosmic divine life force energy that is sprouting out of the feet, hands, and the crown chakras, filling up the aura layer as this essence, this gold, this serenity moves out and into the aura layer. Powering up that nervous system from a place of safety, worthy, and deservedness as it moves itself out. And we see this beautiful rainbow of colors engulfing our entire energy field. And our aura layer right now, it is so tight and beautiful around us. It's flexible, but it's just a beautiful work of art. As these beautiful colors move throughout our aura layer, and the pink is dominant as that represents unconditional love, integrity, connection, as that serenity moves all throughout your body, powered by your love for self, love for others, love for your environment. And some of that serenity now goes down the grounding cord, chasing away those golden rose-shaped scrubbing bubbles as they move themselves down into the core of Mother Earth. Take this visualization all the way as they sizzle, turning into positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. And those roses outside your aura layer, we're going to go ahead and give them a push, blow them up, see them turn into fireworks, positive creative life force energy for anyone to use. Take a deep breath in and exhale and allow for that serenity to wipe away any imprint of war, any imprint of an animalistic connection being programmed into the heart. Now you are filled with serenity, unconditional love, and peace. And as we take this deep breath in and we hold it for a moment and exhale, I want you to open your heart. Let us open our heart. Visualize the doors of our heart opening, the double doors, just opening now that it's clean and clear, guided by higher self. And see beautiful rainbow of hearts pouring down on war-torn areas from you, just pouring over into these areas, just filling them with so much love. And you see guns and bombs just melting and just going into Mother Earth, turning into positive creative life force energy. And you see people holding hands, and you see the energy of love creating gardens and places for people to live amongst one another in peace. And allow for this energy to then expand to go out into the universe and into any war-torn areas that may be happening within the cosmos and the parallel lives, worlds, on planes, on levels, wherever. Just beaming love, bringing peace as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, letting yourself and your environment know it's okay to live in love. It's okay to take hands with my fellow man and coexist in peace. So now I want you to take a deep breath in, hold it for a moment, gently exhale, and visualize the bottoms of your feet closing like the lens of a camera, and Mother Earth energy receding back down. Take another deep breath in. As you gently exhale, close the double doors of your heart and see your hand chakras closing like the lens of a camera. Take another deep breath in. And on the exhale, visualize your crown closing like the lens of a camera, and that cosmic gold life force energy ascending back up into the heavens. And this time, we're going to take a breath in through our nose, as deep as possible. Hold it gently out through the mouth as we allow for all of this beautiful energy to settle within our energy field. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
That was a fantastic visualization.
Thank you so much, Sean. I really appreciate it. I had to get my background together back here.
Well, you got your elevated planet behind you. Wow.
Exactly.
There you
Isn't
go.
that nice? Yeah, the backdrop has been moved, so I had to improvise.
Yeah, this is powerful. This is powerful stuff, and it's been a powerful show, and this is a powerful time here on the planet. And you know, when the Illuminati steps in to switch you off at the time when we're kind of cranking up that energy, you know you're getting something right.
You know, is that truth or diluted nonsense? Who knows? You know, because we are really at the one of the people or energies that have been tasked with bringing in light and opening and helping us remember and get back to things that really matter, because we are real discombobulated. And the fact that we have going on in the world what's going on, meditation and creative visualization is such a great partner for love and joy.
It's our superpower, and you are there to guide us through that. So I'm eternally grateful, Jolé.
An honor.
So just to wrap up the show then, thank you to everybody who was there with us today. Truly appreciate it. And as always, the newsletter goes out tomorrow with the recorded version of this show, which will have the guided meditation glued back onto it. But other than that, I think, oh yeah, like, share, and subscribe, is it?
Please do. That's right, John. Thank you for the save.
Truly appreciate it. For those who hit the
Absolutely.
like button, for those who even drop us comments, and as ever, you know, anybody who wants to join our community, send me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life, or you can contact us through our website, which is elevatedplanet.life/contact, and that gets you through to our free format contact page. So you can put whatever you like in there, because if you have thoughts, suggestions, anything you want to share, questions for us, then please don't hesitate to reach out. But I think that's it, yeah?
Yes. Thank
Cool.
you so much, everyone.
Thank you, and we will see you next week. Take care.